Welcome back to the next section in our solids module. So if we go to the solids tab, review that we did this last time. Remember, we talked about length, width, and height, and I showed you how to parse your solid to see the faces. So let's take a look at a problem that actually has a formula and dimensions. You will notice that I did not give you length and width. I gave you width. I didn't give you length and height. So I'm going to move this little prism up just a hair. Mine is not quite centered on the lines, and I want it to be so we can count. I did give you the width because that is a slanted dimension. It's hard to count on graph paper. But we can definitely find the height and the length by counting. So this is your width. And let's count the height. So that is 4 units tall. And then from here to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's really about 7 1/4, but let's just call it 7 for the ease of doing simple numbers. And I cannot promise you that this is to scale. I just guesstimated based on what it looked like to me. So I also gave you the volume formula, and let's break this formula down so that you can understand what all the pieces mean and where it's coming from. V stands for volume, and that just means the amount that something can hold. So if you buy a 2-liter soda at the store, that volume is 2 liters. It holds 2 liters. And we're looking for that same measure in cubic units, whatever our units are. So V stands for volume. L, you should hopefully already know, is length. That's the long side for length, and that's what this L is for. It is this long side of your dimension, or side of your prism. And then the height, let me get width next because that comes next. There's width. Width in this case is 4.5. That's this variable. And I say variable because this changes according to the box that you're working on. It will be different numbers for these different letters. And then the height is from top to bottom. That is 4 units in this problem. And that is what this H stands for. So here's what the formula says. If you want to know the volume, you multiply the length, width, and the height. So let's work this math problem since we have some numbers. Write the formula. That's so very important. We don't know V, but we know L, we know W, and we know H. So I'm lining up parentheses. Those mean multiply. L is 7. Width is 4.5. And height is 4. And the calculator will do the rest of this for me. And I left my calculator on my desk. So you're going to have to bear with me just a little bit. Let's do 7 times 4.5 times 4. Let me try that again. 7 times 4.5 times 4 is 126 cubic units. So if I were stacking those little cubes in there, it's going to take 126 of them to fill that to capacity. Okay? That is calculating volume of a rectangular prism. Okay, at the bottom they want me to do surface area. And let me go ahead and fill in my units. That was 7 and this was 4. Let me do that for all of them. And this is where we have to do some parsing. Okay, we talked about that in the last video. And I'm sorry to keep saying that word over and over, but I really want you to get that into your mind. So let's start. We'll just go in the order that we did last time. It does not matter. But I'm going to focus for this first parsing on the back of this box, which is here. And remember that also has the front. So this side that's closest to me is also part of that parsing. And I know now why I didn't put the numbers in. Let me take those back out. Because I wanted to show you just the dimensions we're working with. So remember, we're comparing the length in this one, which is 7 units. We found that by counting. And the height, which is 5 units. Was it 5 or 4? Sorry, it's 4. Can you tell it's after lunch and I'm a little bit sleepy now? But I'm really enjoying this filming. I like doing these problems. Okay, remember we have 2 of those. We have 2 faces that are 7 by 4. And I'm not going to even write out a big fancy formula. We have 2 faces that are 7 by 4. And we're looking for a surface area. Remember, area is measured in square units. So how many little squares does it take to cover that back panel and also the front panel? So to write this mathematically, you would say 2 times 7 times 4. We have 2 of those panels. So 7 times 4 is 28, and we have 2 of those. So on your calculator, you can do 2 times 28, and you end up with 46 square units. Now that's for that back panel and the front panel. So you see why I need to be able to parse. I need to separate these out in my mind's eye. Okay, for the next section, we have this end, and then we have this end. So for this one, the length is not involved. The 7 is irrelevant to this one. We're just looking at those 2 faces that are on the ends of this box. So we have 2 faces that are 4.5 by 4. So to write that mathematically, remember we need to be able to write things the proper way. To write that mathematically, we would say 2 faces, and each one of them is 4.5 by 4. So let's do this math. We have 2 and 4.5 by 4. I'm borrowing a calculator from my friend because I don't know. That's 18. And then 18 times 2 is 36 square units. So the blue sections are 36 square units. Okay, we have one more set of sides to do, and I think I'll use green for these. So we have the top and bottom of this box. For some reason, these are the hardest for me to color. I don't know if it's just me or what's going on here. So bear with me. I'm trying to stay in the lines, but not doing too good. Okay, the dimensions on this one, you don't need the 4 because that's height, and we're not interested in height at all. We're interested in this 7 long and 4.5 wide. And there are 2 of those. We learned that when we learned to parse, that for each one of these, you're going to have 2 of them that are exactly alike. So 2 of them are 7 by 4.5. And let's set up a math problem the proper way. So you have 2 that are this dimension. And go ahead and multiply 7 times 4.5. And that's 31.5. And go ahead and multiply that times 2. And you end up with 63 square units. So all I have done, and it's not a small thing, but I have done each of the sections of the box, figured out the areas for each one. And we have one more thing to do. We need to combine those areas because that's what they're asking me for. Surface area is the total area on the outside of that box. So if I were wrapping a Christmas gift or a birthday gift, and I needed to know how much wrapping paper I'm going to need with no extra, nothing to spare, but exactly how much, this is how you would do it. So I'm going to take the 46, turn off my shape tool, the 36, and the 63. And let me just be sure that you know where I'm getting those. Here's the 63, here's the 36, and here is the 46. So I take those 3 sub areas, and I'm not even going to risk it. I'm going to use the calculator. I cannot do math in my head. I have a learning disability, so I don't see things the way I should in my mind. Let me double check to be sure. Yes, so 145 square units total. And I know this takes a very long time. I'm not sure that you would get this on a test. You could, but it takes a while to do. But again, I have not seen the exam. I don't ask questions about the exam, so I'm not sure what's on there. I just wanted to be sure that we had covered it in case. But this is how to do a volume and then a surface area for a rectangular prism. I'm going to stop the video. I believe the next thing, yes, is cylinders. So I'll see you for this page coming up soon.